Hello everybody and welcome back to Crypto Mischief. Richie here. For today's video, I'm going to be interviewing the hardest working man in crypto, the 100x man, the dev and mastermind of Drip and the Reap DAO. This is Forex Shark. He's controversial, I know. So naturally, I'm super excited to do this interview today. I'm going to timestamp the questions so that you can see them at your own convenience. Don't forget to show your support for Drip and Forex by liking this video and subscribe to the channel if you wish. We're also doing a giveaway for this video where I'm giving away 5 Drip to the 5 best questions which I chose. Count them 1, 2, 3, 5. That's right. So personally, I got to know Forex about this time last year when he forked an ERC20 token and created ReapCoin. And since then, he's been on quite a tear. His most recent project, Drip, if you don't know it, check just up here. I've got a bunch of videos on them. I've got a playlist on it. It will pop up in the screen right now. Well, Drip has been phenomenally successful. And in the 100 plus days since launch, we've seen a helpful, educated, and vibrant community appear on Telegram and on Discord. I took this opportunity to get the best questions from my subscribers, to get the best questions that they wanted to be answered by Forex, by the man himself. Now, before we get into the interview, I urge you to join the Drip Telegram where Forex is most active. Everything you need to know about Drip and other partnerships or creations that Forex is working on can easily be found there. The links for all of projects and Drip socials can be found in the description below. And of course, my team link too is there if you want to join Drip. Okay, with that all out the way, let's get into the interview. Forex, welcome to the channel. How are you doing? How are you doing, Forex?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be here. You've been with us since day one, since before
Nice.
Drip, since Reap, since all my other projects. So I'm very glad to be here.
Cool. So my first question for you is going to be a big one, and it is, what are you most excited for about Drip in the next coming months?
So there's a few things. I would say it could be a tie, but I'm very excited about our partnership with Focus Visual, uh, because they have about 30 or 40 different very large streamers that are on OnlyFans and on Twitch and on a couple other platforms. And their focus is mostly on people that are paying for content. So they have hundreds of thousands individually and millions, many millions combined of people who are paying for their content currently. And what we're going to do for them is create another type of subscription model where people can join their team. And for being a member of their team, they'll get exclusive access to content. So this will be content that they'll be releasing just to their team, to a private group that we'll be setting up. At first, we'll use the infrastructure of Telegram to do this. And eventually, fairly shortly, we'll create our own DApp for this. But if you join their team, you'll then get a link. Essentially, anybody could click the link. So it'll
Hmm.
just be a link in their description. But if you're not in their team, when you click the link and it asks you to connect your wallet to the site, it will then look to cross-reference your wallet with the chain to see if you're holding drip tokens in the staking pool, in the faucet.
Hmm.
If you're not doing that, then it won't give you the link to the private group. So essentially, it's like a com bot, or there's a few other bots that are doing this for DAO groups. I use it for the Reap DAO.
Yeah.
And this will be a way that people who are currently paying a monthly subscription for exclusive content will be able to get this exclusive content and not have to be forking money over every month. They'll essentially just be putting money into a protocol that allows them to earn passive income. And the content creators benefit from it because they're going to make more from referral bonuses than they make off their monthly subscription protocol that they're using now. most of
Yeah.
them charge $5, $2, the high end $10 a month. And we all know that people who are part of Drip that have a following, some of our people in Drip, they'll have a couple thousand people on their YouTube channel, a couple thousand subscribers, and they've made six figures in Drip. So we know that the rewards that you make from Drip are exponentially greater than you would make from a subscription model to, produce and distribute content through the current models that people are using, OnlyFans and Twitch, etc. So that's
That's cool.
extremely, extremely exciting.
I agree with you on that. It is any influencer who uses Drip is going to be able to really like boost their passive income crazily with Drip. It
Yeah.
has that power.
So it's going to be a process because we're going after people who have very, very large followings,
Yeah.
but they're not specifically crypto following because we all know that really there aren't many people that are in crypto or have crypto channels that have millions and millions of subscribers. It's just not a thing. There's a small handful of people who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers who are producing crypto content. So it's going to be a process, an education process, but Focus Visual, they are a firm that manages streamers, but also does promotion. So they have two different models of clients that they use. They have one who they call essentially their exposure or their wide scope clients, and these are
Mm.
people that have millions and millions of followers on Twitter and on various platforms, and they're producing content, but because their audiences are so long, they're not having a one-to-one direct kind of connection to their audience. So they're doing a lot of the kind of promotion that you see on Twitter where these accounts that have millions and millions of followers and they're doing some private personal posts, but a lot of also promotional posts.
Mm.
And this is mostly just to get the word out there and to get people seeing our product. So they're all in the same circle. All of these content creators are kind of in the same circle of Latin America, South American based content creators. So these first exposure type clients are going to be making posts here and there about Drip. And what this will do is in the next phase, which will come a couple weeks after, we're going to have the streamers who are on Twitch and OnlyFans who have a more direct connection with their audience,
Mm.
actually on there doing the education, doing the onboarding, offering content, and doing that. And the plan is, and this is a model that they've used for promotion many times in the past, is that when they bring it up to their followers will think, "Oh yeah, I saw this posted here, I saw this posted," and they will have seen it before because of the larger exposure clients have put it out there for
Yeah,
the
that's
past
great.
few years and got exposure. And this is a model that they've used before that's been successful for them, and they feel, and from their earlier numbers, that they'll be able to onboard at least 5% of their user base.
It's a lot.
And yeah, we're looking at tens of millions of people that are in their user base. So yeah, that's many multiples more than the people that we currently have invested in Drip. And it excites me not just because it will bring a lot of capital and a lot of investors, also because it's an innovative new model for content monetization. And I think
Yes.
now we see with the major censorship that is going on basically all platforms, and we see it with PayPal and we see it with MasterCard and Stripe and all these, they're owned by the same couple parent companies. They're shutting down people's payment processors just because they have a difference in opinion in multiple different variants of topics. So I think it's great to create decentralized payment models for content, and I'm excited to be able to start paving the way on that, with Drip as the structure to allow us to do that.
Yeah. What's this I hear about Drip being linked to an NFT game?
Yeah, so that would be You're reading my mind here.
Ah, that's actually the second question, so that's good.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So that's the thing that I think that they both are going to be massively uh influential in the onboarding of people to Drip. I
Yeah,
think it's two different kinds of ways of handling it. I'd say the focus visual is more about trying to get mass exposure to normies, and then you're gonna pick a couple along the way, but you're throwing such a wide dragnet that even if you get a couple percentage, it still ends up being a very large amount of people. Whereas the NFT game is striking right to the heart of DeFi, where
yeah,
there's less people, it's a less dragnet, but we're creating something that people in this space will be extremely excited about. So it'll get a very large percentage of those people that we're getting exposure of this project to.
yeah.
And what the NFT game is, it's essentially a battle idle game. It's based on BSC. It's on the BSC chain. You'll deposit BNB, and when you deposit BNB, you get an egg. And this egg is a monster that essentially can generate mana. And I'm gonna just break it down to. I'm not going to get into the lore of the game and all of
Hmm.
that because this is more of a wider interview about Drip.
Yeah.
But just to make it, brass tacks, talk about the actual functions of the project. These eggs essentially generate something called mana, which will be a token. The token will have a different name when it's launched. I don't want to say that name now because whenever you say the name of a token before it launches, you get a dozen of them. People try to ride off your hype before you launch. I'll keep that private until we're ready.
Sure,
But
no problem.
the name of a token that we're calling mana now, and this mana allows you to evolve your monster. And as your monster evolves from an egg to a baby to an adult, it becomes more efficient at mining this token. And this token can be used to buy more eggs or can be used to buy um, eggs that aren't essentially mining eggs. They're eggs for battle monsters.
Cool.
Now, these battle monsters can also be evolved, and what they do is they have an attack, a defense, and essentially a looting rating. When you have a little army of your monsters going, what you can do is attack other people in the game. And if your attack rating is higher than their defense rating, then you can steal their mana. And the amount of mana that you steal from them is based on your looting rating.
Okay.
So it allows you to set up really cool models and strategies to playing the game because you could choose the different monsters have different different values. So one monster has a very high defense rating, but not a high looting rating and not a high attack rating.
So it's like a tank.
Yeah, and one
Yeah.
monster might have a high attack and a high looting. One monster might just be good at looting, like a
Yeah.
stealth monster. So it allows you to set up these strategies and these teams in a way where you can decide how you want to play the game. You could decide to play a game where you're buying the most efficient monsters that are good at creating mana, and then buying mostly defensive monsters to protect that mana.
Yeah.
Or you could decide to get some monsters to get the production going enough to build up a team of attack and looting monsters, and then focus mostly on just stealing the mana from other people and not producing it so much yourself. And then essentially once a day, you can take that mana, put it in a treasury box, and exchange it back out for BNB. So this is essentially how you cash out of the game. Now, you can also buy items with the game that give your monsters different powers. So it could, for the next you could buy a item for the next 2 hours. You can 2x your monster's attack rating,
Yeah.
or for the next 2 hours, you're invincible to attacks. So these kinds of things. I'm about to do a large attack. um, if I do a large attack now, I won't have a defensive rating high enough to protect my mana in the time it takes to cash out. So what I'll do is I'll attack, loot the monsters, buy an item that gives me invincibility for the next 2 hours until I can cash it out. So it creates all these interesting strategies that you can do. There's also XP points that build up, experience points, and you gain these experience points from having battles in the game. And when you gain these experience points, you can use them to buy talents for your monsters, and these talents are essentially ways to create variance in your strategy. So the big part about the NFT game is, if you're going to create an NFT game, I think what makes NFT games, popular and gives them the kind of volume that we're seeing in Axie Infinity and other big platforms that are getting more volume than even ETH is getting now, is you need to have a game that allows for people who don't have a lot of capital but have a lot of time and have the ability to strategize, to grind the game and make a fairly low risk return on their investment for putting in that time and for learning the strategies of the game. And then those people who are willing to put in that time can then sell those NFTs on a secondary market to people who don't have a lot of time, who don't want to spend time grinding, but want to get right into the higher risk, high reward gameplay.
Yes.
So essentially, how it will work is you're evolving these NFTs, and you can use BNB for some of the monsters and just go right into just buying them and buying mana for them with BNB, not having to mine the mana to go ahead. It's kind of like micro payments to be able to do that. So, but you don't have to do that. You could also start off with just the starting payment to get that initial egg, and then grow mana from that, and then use that mana to evolve that monster, then buy other eggs, evolve those eggs, and really start with just that one initial payment and grind up from there. And then once you have these monsters evolved, you can then sell them on a secondary market to people who want to get right into the higher risk, high reward gameplay and are cool with dropping a few $1,000s right up front, because they know there's a high probability that they're going to make a large return on their investment without having to sit through the grinding. And what we see with projects like Axie Infinity and some of these other big projects is there's a huge market for this in the third world. And people in the Philippines, for example, there's a huge portion of the Philippines who are making a living. They're making their salary from Axie Infinity. They're spending all day grinding and playing this game to earn these NFTs and to earn the love potions, which they're then selling on a secondary market to people who want to take the higher risk, higher return play to buy those potions and buy those NFTs and then breed them, hoping that they're going to make a larger return. So there's a saying that the most valuable asset to someone with money is time, and the most valuable asset to someone with time is money. And this is because if you already have the money, then you're often are in a situation where you're in a high demand job or some high demand you're in a high demand situation where you don't have the time to be grinding and trying to spend this time, and you can use your money to essentially buy other people's time, because time is the one thing that we all have, which is extremely limited. But if you don't have a lot of money,
you can grind.
And that's going to be your greatest asset, is putting in that time and time and education and learning the strategies and putting in that time. And then you can essentially sell your time to the people who have the money to buy it. And eventually, if you keep grinding like this, hopefully you'll be the person that is then using your money because you've been able to stack up enough to buy other people's time.
Yeah, man.
So this is the way that we structured the game to allow for this type of economy where people can set up um, basically second layer markets where they can sell these NFTs. People, we will have our own, but essentially the infrastructure is already there in OpenSea and Rarible and these other platforms. So people will be able to create their own stores
Yeah.
to sell their NFTs. So the way that this plays into Drip is that the micropayments for items and some of the various things that you can purchase in game to make your grinding shorter and to give you essentially a multiplier and advantage to the game can be paid for exclusively with Drip.
Awesome.
So yeah, so this it gives another major use case for Drip, and it's going to introduce people who are into the NFT space that have no clue about Drip, that are just getting into it because they're interested in the NFT game, will now see that they can have an advantage in the game by buying and getting involved with Drip.
Man, that's so cool.
And and the great thing about it is that it's a standalone system and a standalone game. So Drip by itself is a great product that doesn't need the NFT game, but it adds a great new use case for it. And the NFT game is a standalone product that's a great game. It doesn't need Drip, but it is another major it benefits from Drip by by essentially onboarding the people from Drip to join the game because it's giving an exclusive use case for Drip holders.
Yeah.
So the NFT game will onboard people to Drip because they'll see, oh, you can use Drip in this game, and I'll be able to get this and this and this exclusively with Drip. And then the people who are in Drip will get onboarded to the game because now they have a cool new use case for their Drip. So it's a win-win for everybody, and that's another. That's, I would say, the two are equally exciting. I would say for me, the NFT game is a bit more exciting just because I'm completely a crypto head involved in crypto. I love developing, so that's way up my alley.
Yeah.
But one is more of a development use case angle. The other is a marketing angle, and we both
Yes.
know that they're equally as important. And for me, of course, I love the development and gameplay side of things, but marketing is just as important, and they're both playing those two roles perfectly. So we need both of them. And the NFTs, so what we have the NFT infrastructure because of the game. We'll also be doing some exclusive NFTs for the content creators as well. So that's another thing that will get the people who are there, they're in their following, they're in their user base, and they want to support them. They'll be able to get involved in their NFTs. Because for me, I think the NFT space is great. It opens the door to a ton of new opportunities. But if you're just essentially creating a JPEG with no use case, I don't see any value in that. The only time that there's a value specifically to that is if it's created by an artist that you would be willing to pay a premium because it's an original from that artist,
Yeah.
rather than buying another on-chain copy that someone just took a screenshot of, put it on chain, and is selling for a discounted rate. The only way that it makes sense to buy the original is because you want something from that artist and you want to support that artist. That's why it makes sense to me to do something with the focus visual people on the NFT front, because they have a user base that wants to support them, that wants to get involved. So for me, NFTs play two roles here. It's in the game, the NFT game, which is important because the game itself brings intrinsic values to the NFTs, because the NFTs allow you to play the game and essentially make capital and have fun in the game. And the NFTs on the content creator side have value because they're created by and represent the art of a content creator that people support and want to get behind and want to buy their art from. So, we're in a position to do both. because an NFT deployer is an NFT deployer. You know, you need to do stuff in the metadata in the background and the servers. But as far as deploying the NFTs, that can be handled by essentially one contract. So we have that contract. So we're going to tackle both at the same time.
I can't wait for that game. It sounds great. Really,
yeah, it's going to be a couple months. So, you know, we went all out. You know, I onboarded a developer who is he's built games before, not just on chain games, but actually mostly he's built mobile games. So he built battle mobile games, and they're like tower defense type games on the mobile. And I brought him on because it's not too hard to deploy NFTs. It's not too hard to just create a game. It's very hard to create a balanced game, especially a battle game. And I know that there's been games before that have launched in the past that have had, you know, a dozen characters or 2 dozen characters. But shortly, a couple of days after launch, people realized all you have to do is spam by this one character. He's just overpowered. And and that's it. And it ruins the whole purpose of the game. Because then at that point, there's no strategy, there's no gameplay. It's just whoever has the most money and can spam by this character the most is going to win. So I brought on a developer that has built many of these battle games for, you know, high level production companies. So as far as that goes, we should have an extremely well balanced, an extremely fun game. So that was the key for me. I didn't want to just create something which is a glorified yield farm. I want it to be a game, a well balanced game. And then we got with a company through him that does animation and art for a lot of the big mobile games. So we're also going to be getting some really cool animation and art for our NFTs that are you know, on par with some high level games that you see on and off chain. Really off chain, there's not too many high level games on chain. We'll be one of the first. Another big thing is that when you look at projects like Axie Infinity, and Axie Infinity starting to get their act together, but there's a bunch of other games, especially the second and third most popular games, is they've outgrown their ability and their resources on their server. So 90% of the game isn't functional. And the main game, the server goes, you know, up and down whether you can actually play the game or not. When it's playing, it's very laggy. This is because they're trying to do a type of gameplay which is extremely resource inefficient, and we really just don't have the kind of infrastructure to do that yet in crypto on chain. So what I'm looking to do is build a turn-based game which still has all the fun and all the strategy, but we're not doing the heavy resource inefficient battle scenes. So the battles will essentially be not like a full animated battle scene like some of the other ones have tried to do, because they always fail. And I would rather have something that is just as fun, but we make sure that it is running and functional from day one, and all the components of our game are running and functional from day one. And we're going to ensure this. So, you know, we've been able to view what some of the other game developers have done on and off chain, and we've been able to make adjustments to make an improvement. I believe we're going to have one of the best NFT games in the space, and Drip is going to be a major part of it, because some of the items that you will need to play the game, or at least you'll have a major advantage of in the game, will be purchasable only by Drip. So it's very exciting. And we're a couple months away. So the contracts we're almost done with the contracts. The art is being done, the front end's being done. We're about a month and a half away from raising capital. You know, there's a lot of other projects that they raise capital, they launch, especially in the NFT space, they'll launch a farm or they'll launch a token, and then say that the NFTs and the games are coming. Or maybe they launch an NFT farm and say the games are coming. And then we all know 99, 90, whatever percent of the time, those games never come.
Yeah, they don't come.
We're not going to do that. Whenever I launch a project, I launch a fully functional, fully operational project.
Yeah,
and I never raise capital until the project's finished being built. So this is why we're about I actually started building this game a long time ago, before BC, before when it was just Tron and ETH essentially for smart contracts. And the gas prices were just too expensive on the ERC20 network to do it. And Tron, I didn't want to launch on Tron. I'm not a big fan of Tron.
Yeah, Tron kind of sucks.
Yeah. So we held back, and then BSC became a thing. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll launch on BSC. And then NFTs really blew up. And I was just like, oh, if I'm going to do this, I want to have it a full-on NFT game. So I kind of got to go back to the drawing board and make sure it's operational with NFTs as well. And then we had that first big NFT wave where it wasn't really NFTs with a solid use case. It was NFTs like Unisocks and Punks and these things, which have shown to have their value, but it's more of a bubble fad type of thing. Now so I put it on the shelf because I could see that it was a type of fad. We're starting to top out on it. Now we're having this second wave of NFTs, and this time it's coming with the use case, with the game, with
play to earn,
the bonds, with the utility. So now's the time to do it. And it's been on the shelf. And this is why we were able to get it done fairly quickly. It's because this is something that if you knew how long we've been working on it, it's been on and off the shelf for about a year. It's just now is the right time to do it. And now we have the capital to build it out right and to make it really a competitor with the top NFT projects in the space. And I have the capital to fund it myself before raising any capital. So that's what we'll do. I'm going to fund the whole thing out of pocket myself. Then once it's fully built, we'll start fundraising, essentially just to provide liquidity for it.
Great. I mean, when it does launch, see the price performance of a lot of those tokens that it's crazy how fast they can take off. So it will be a really exciting project, especially. So I have a couple questions from some of my subscribers.
Please.
I asked them about it. So the first question we have is from a guy called Tin Man. Tin Man's talking about Drip, and he says, what's in place to keep this project sustainable long term? As this grows, there's going to be far more outgoings than incoming funds as people start using the returns to live and pay their bills. I love Drip, and I have a lot invested in it, so I want to see how it can stand the test of time. Can you tell me?
Yeah. So with Drip, because of the tax system, because of the way that tokens, when they're staked, are being removed from circulation, because a percentage of every transaction is locked up in the liquidity pool, and because the incentives are all built to keep money in the system, we only need to keep up a minimal amount of growth to keep the price growing or relatively stable. And we've built in fail stops as well, such as the whale tax, that ensure that no one account can withdraw more than 5% of the capital at a time. So we have a cap essentially where if you try to withdraw more than 10% of the supply of Drip from the liquidity pool, there's a 50% tax on it. So you get capped out at 10%, plus there's a 50% tax on it. So essentially you're only getting out 5%. Now, as the price of Drip grows, that 5% will be more and more and more, and less people will hit that cap. So far, we've only had one person to begin with hit that cap, and it's someone that was able to onboard a lot of capital. So essentially, to be one of these big players that can withdraw a lot of capital from the system, you would have had to onboard a lot of capital and a lot of players in the system. There's fail stops to stop people just from compounding exponentially and being able to withdraw that way without adding more to the system. So the only way that you're going to be able to withdraw a massive amount of capital from the system, and by massive, I mean 5% of the total supply,
Yeah.
is by doing a lot of onboarding of capital. Now, we're allowing for the growth of the platform through adding additional use cases. And we see that we've already had a couple partnerships. There's a project right now that is building a poker, essentially poker tournaments, and they're going to be hosting poker tournaments for Drip. We have the
Cool.
Focus Visual deal coming up. Yeah, that's really cool. We're having the Focus Visual thing coming up, which is going to onboard a ton of people. At least that's what it's projected to do. That's what all of the numbers are looking like from the past performance of this promotional and stream management company I've seen in the past from their previous performance in promotional events. We have this NFT strategy game that's coming up. Currently, right now, a good friend of mine is building a farm, a multi-layer yield farm, which is going to have drip pools. So, you see that we're adding more and more and more use cases for Drip. And the way that Drip is structured, you only need a minimal amount of growth to keep up with this with the rate at which people can withdraw. And we're going to continue to do that by creating new use cases, by utilizing the fail stops that we already built into the system, and by continuing to market. Your viewers might not know, but I was just on a channel that has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, a major comedian who has been on Joe Rogan, who has a current Netflix special out right now. I was just on his channel just a couple days ago.
I watched that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You were talking about the London hard fork, yeah? Is that the one?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I spent about 20% of the time also talking about Drip as well.
Yeah.
So in that day, we were able to increase the user base of Drip from a capital volume perspective by about 25%.
Yeah.
That was just one event on one day. We're tiny right now. We make up such a tiny amount of the BSC investor base.
Yeah.
And the BSC investor base makes up such a tiny part of the crypto space. And the crypto space is such a tiny part of the market as a whole. So the crypto market is growing and growing and growing exponentially now. And we are growing with it. I think Binance is a solid company. I think that they have the capital behind them to continue to make adjustments. So I think BNB in the long term is a good investment. We're paired primarily in BNB. I think the Binance Smart Chain is going to continue to develop and grow. So I think alone with the protocol that Drip has in place, if it was just to allow it to do its thing with its team, with its onboarding, and with the natural organic growth of the crypto market, we will be able to keep up and grow and maintain Drip. Now with the additional marketing and use cases and the fail safes that we have in to ensure that no one person can withdraw a large amount, and the people that are withdrawing large amounts have that large amount because they onboarded dividends more or multiples more than what they're able to withdraw through referrals and through just depositing on their own. Drip is going to continue to grow. I mean, I don't think anybody is questioning that Drip will continue to grow, and the growth that we need to maintain is not anything close to being towards the high end of what we are able to do or what the crypto market in general is going to do.
Yeah.
So I'm confident that we're going to continue to grow and Drip will continue to maintain performance for a long time to come.
Me too. So the next question comes from Zareen, and he asks, how can we better communicate to investors the importance of providing liquidity to Drip?
Well, whenever I go on streams or anything like that, and I talk about the importance of having a decentralized liquidity pool, You know, not one person can be in charge of the liquidity pool. That's a security risk. And you need a deep decentralized liquidity pool. And I think the best way to do that is to just incentivize people to add liquidity. So the model that we're using to do that is we have the reservoir,
Yes.
which is rewarding people in a great way to add liquidity by taking a percentage of BNB that is added to the liquidity pool. We make it very easy as well. Typically, if you're trying to add liquidity to a project, you need to buy the token of the project, you need to have the base project, you need to use a separate contract, and you need to decide how much of each you want to put in, and then you need to set a rate and put it in. With ours, all you have to do is choose the amount of BNB that you want to put into the liquidity pool. It will automatically take half that BNB, buy Drip for you, and at the given price that is now, set it at that rate. There's no window, like if in Uniswap V3 you need to put in a window and all these externalities which make it complicated to do. We make it very easy to add liquidity on our native platform. Now, as far as other exchanges, we're incentivizing people to do that through our partnerships with yield farms. And the best way you can teach people to do these things is to show them that they can make money doing it and to incentivize them that way. So we have a partnership with a good friend of mine who is about to launch a yield farm. We're actually going to raise for it next week. Today's Friday, so not this coming week, the week after that. We're going to do a raise in the Reap DAO for this project. This is a yield farm that is really cool. The way it works is essentially there's a 14-day period where the farm mints out at a fairly high rate of a reward token. This reward token can then be used in the pre-sale of the second layer, where you can buy into the second layer using BNB or stablecoin. But if you use this farm reward token that you farmed, you get a multiplier. So you get a higher percentage of these tokens for your capital. And this second layer has a governance and a yield farm protocol where, as a governor of the project, you're essentially buying a share ownership of the project. So you get a share of the fees. So we're essentially decentralizing the ownership of a yield farm. And we're the first project on BSC to do this. It's extremely exciting. I am working with him to develop it. I'm not the lead developer of it, but I am hands-on all the way in the project. And I am going to make sure they get proper promotion, their raise goes well. It's a very, very cool concept, and we're going to make sure that it gets the light it needs. And they're going to have drip pools. So they're going to have low tax, high reward drip pools for people that add liquidity to drip. And this is going to be BNB, but we'll have a higher multiplier for stablecoin liquidity. And I think it's important that we have not necessarily more stablecoin liquidity than BNB liquidity, but just in general, we have more stablecoin liquidity because Drip is growing. Drip is growing at a fast rate. And we've had situations in the past where Drip was outperforming BNB. Drip was outperforming the whole market. But since we're paired primarily with BNB, BNB took a crash. BNB crashed 30% or whatever it crashed. And people saw the USD value of Drip going down. Even though we were outperforming all the other markets, since we're getting our USD rating based on our USD rate based on how many Drip are paired with BNB and what is the USD value of BNB, if the USD value of BNB goes down, the USD value of Drip will also go down. Even assuming we are not growing faster than the amount of BNB is going down. BNB flash crashed, so it's essentially impossible to flash crash up. You know, essentially, unless you're like maybe right at launch, you could do something similar to that. But you know, when a project is hundreds of days old, you don't get these flash crashes up. So It caused some people who just saw the USD value of Drip going down to sell Drip for BNB, and all they're doing now is selling into a token which is dropping faster. So technically, it makes no sense to do, but the vast majority of people don't know how to look at the technicals and how to look at these metrics and make an informed decision. They panic, and that's what happens. People panic. So it ended up hurting the Drip price. Now, if we had been paired in DAI, for example,
Yeah.
when BNB did the flash crash, we would have just kept going up in USD value because we wouldn't have been paired with BNB. We wouldn't have had that pullback, and we wouldn't have had the panic selling. So I think it's important because we have the metrics and we have the mechanics to really outpace the rest of the market. I think it's important that we have a significant amount of our liquidity in stable coins so people can see our performance alone separated from the rest of the market and allow us to pull away and not have the flash crashes that are going on in the rest of the market make people panic sell our token, which is outperforming everything at the time. It makes no sense, but that's how people are. So we need to do our best to educate people, as the person in the question just said. So really the question about how do we educate people, we incentivize their education by rewarding them.
Yeah. So here's a question from Curtis. Actually, this same question was asked by 3 people, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
So people often say the creator of Drip is not known other than by a screen name. He's a mysterious man. Some people use this as a reason not to invest. I do my best to defend Drip and say that Bitcoin and PancakeSwap are successful projects with anonymous devs. But I'm curious as to what you have to say when you hear this. Have you ever considered doxing yourself to help Drip?
No, I don't think in the long run it is a help to have a dox dev. I think with the current gray area of regulation, the continuous changing of regulation, I think having a dox dev is more of a vulnerability than a benefit. And I think that someone like myself can stand on the merits of their work and their long history in the space operating under this name more than a name. It's very easy to buy an ID and to get a KYC. I could spend a couple $1,000s right now and have a full ID, full KYC, and I could have my cousin come on screen. I could use his IDs. There's no way that anybody can confirm that that was me, even if I gave my ID. So there has to be that element of trust there. If you're going to put trust in the developer, I say put your trust in the contracts, which are trustless. If you do need that trust of the developer, if you need to trust the developer, which I do think is important because this is a fully functional, fully operational project that does not rely on me. I could die right now. Drip still functions on. We do have some cool things planned in the future, right? So I would say if you get this question brought up to you, I would tell the person to go look on my Discord. I'll give you the link for my Discord. Go look at all the other groups I'm a part of. Go look at the projects that I've developed. Go look at the projects I've advised, some of the larger projects in the space. BlockClout, TrustSwap, MahaDAO, RioDAO. I've worked as an admin for the largest venture capitalist group in crypto. I handled the pre-sale raised millions of dollars for Black Dragon's DAO group, which is a DAO group that's been around since 2016 when they were starting the first initial IPOs. They were involved. I've worked for and raised capital for dozens and dozens and dozens, over 30 projects where I've raised tens of millions of dollars for them. So I've been working in the space for about 9 years now.
Yeah.
6 years as a developer, and about 3 years before I was developing, trading and helping people learn how to trade. I never charged people for trading education. I always thought it was kind of a crop, not because you can't do it right. You can do it right and charge for education, but the majority of people don't. The majority of people are selling repackaged garbage projects and garbage systems. I
Yeah.
saw that, and I had been a successful trader. I was trading Bitcoin and Forex at the time. This is like 9 years ago. And I had a bunch of friends coming to me who were interested in learning to trade. I decided that I would start a Discord group and start just posting my trades and start answering questions for them. And I was active in some other communities as well. Before long, I had 10 people, 20 people, 100 people joining my Discord group. And we're all talking about learning how to trade, the majority of them trying to learn my system and just learn about trading from me. And I did that for years until early 2018. Before early 2013, I was developing indicators. I was developing trading systems, which I never sold. I always released open source because I made my money trading with them and using them. Um, then in early 2018, um, a friend that I knew that was a developer wanted to host a pre-sale. I got invited to a group to be part of hosting this pre-sale. And since then, I just leveraged my connections in the space to get connected with more developers. And since I had a knowledge of developing and of markets, which is something that's actually relatively rare in the space, a lot of developers don't have a good understanding of trading and markets. And a lot of people who have an understanding of trading and markets don't have a good understanding of developing. So I kind of had an interesting set of skills that I could leverage that got me involved as in advisor roles and hosting a lot of these pre-sales. So I did that for years. I did that for about 3 years. And then we had a RFI, a project which was a reflective token, the first token to do reflective rewards correctly. There was a project called Ying, and then a project called Yang, then a project called Yin Yang. All these projects were the first projects to try to do reflective rewards, but they didn't. They couldn't figure out a way to make it so the liquidity pool was also getting these reflective rewards. So it created an arbitrage situation where people could essentially drain the liquidity pool. RFI was the first project to figure out reflective rewards in the correct way. And within a week after that, I launched my first project, which was introducing a deflationary model to the reflective reward system. That project is called REAP, R34P, and it's still up. It's up about 200x from where it launched. And this is like almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I've been working in space for a long time. My projects have all performed very, very well. And even my first project that I ever launched is still up almost 200x. And, we're about to have a pre-sale, which is exclusive to people who hold the REAP token.
Yes, you should tell people about that.
Yeah, I will. So even to this day, the first token I ever launched about 2 years ago is still getting new use cases introduced to it. It's still having great performance, right? So I don't create pump and dumps. I create projects that are here for the long term and can be built on to be part of a larger ecosystem. And this is all documented. Even all those pre-sales that I raised funds for, I created individual channels for them on my Discord and a discussion channel and a funds channel. And I made sure every single person that contributed to those posted their Etherscan link in the Discord. So it's all on chain, confirmed and verifiable going back years. And people can look to see the funds were put in. The funds were sent to a development team. The tokens were sent to me. They were distributed. I mean, this goes back years and years and years where people can see that my word has been solid and I've been doing exactly what I said I was going to do and have done for years. And at this point, it's not, I mean, I like building great things. That's what it's about for me now. I've been a multi-millionaire in the space for years now. I'm not interested in cash grabs. I've never been interested in cash grabs. I've never needed to do a cash grab. And, Drip is just one major step along the way to creating this great ecosystem.
So here's a question then. If if say like people want to imagine what you look like, if you were to get a person to play you in a movie, which actor would you choose?
Oh man, let me see. Maybe I should just say Brad Pitt and let
Nice.
people
There you go.
imagine, right?
Guys, just imagine Brad Pitt. There you go.
Yeah. Fight Club Brad Pitt.
Fire on that, the tough one. Nice.
Yeah.
So we have two more questions. This question is from Ben. I'm pretty sure this can never happen, but you're better to explain this than I am. What happens when 100% of drip is locked? I think that's impossible. Is that right?
Yeah, that's impossible to happen. We do have about 87% of all drip locked in the faucet, which is amazing. That's outperformed anything I could imagine. That's crazy to me, and that just shows the extreme confidence in the project of the people involved in it. And we see whales coming in every day, and they all get 100% locked in the faucet.
Yeah.
And then 87% in the faucet. We have another like 10%, or I'd say 7 to 10% or something in the reservoir as well. We have like 4 or 5% of tokens that are in wallets. It's such a small amount of tokens that are actually in people's wallets that could be sold right now. So the reason why 100% of tokens could never be locked up is because the way our custom automated market maker works is it starts with an amount of drip and an amount of BNB. When people buy drip, they're buying a percentage of the drip from the liquidity pool and adding BNB. This changes the rate of drip to BNB in the contract. The more BNB there are to drip in the contract, the higher the BNB price of drip. And the whatever the price of BNB is in USD, that's how that's evaluated. So it's impossible to buy 100% of the drip from the automated market maker. How it works is when you do a small, it's a curve. So the larger your position, the more difficult it is to extract more drip from the contract, and that's what that price impact slippage is all about. So you can never buy 100% of the drip from the liquidity pool. So that means there will always be some drip available in the liquidity pool. Just the less drip that is in the liquidity pool, the higher the price is. So the more get locked up, the less there is to be in the liquidity pool, and the higher the price is relative to the BNB in the pool. And if we get to a point where there's less than one drip in the liquidity pool, people can buy fractions of it. That's why there's 18 decimals. So
expensive drip.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's what we want. That as investors, we want expensive drip.
Yeah.
So except for all the people who are praying every day for a correction so they can buy a ton more. But for the most part, people who are in it want more, want the price to go up. So it's just impossible the way that automated market makers work. There can only be less drip available, and that just means a higher price.
Good. So then the last question is from Lynn1. She says, since you have such a loyal following that enjoy your project so much, any new things beside drip that may be on the horizon someday? Now, you already spoke about the farm and you spoke about the NFT game. So are there any other ones that you're working on?
Yeah, there are some ideas. So the farm that's coming up isn't my project. That's just a project being built by a friend who I'm helping come up with the concept. I'm helping them raise and I'm helping them promote. And in turn for this, they're having drip pools with high multipliers and low tax. But I'm going to make sure I'm going to be hands-on with it. The NFT project, that's 100% our project, for the Drip Communities project. And the another project, a major idea that I have that I will be building out eventually is a type of lending platform where essentially you can lend out your tokens on different lending platforms by staking them on those lending platforms through our protocol. When you
Nice.
do that, you can essentially take out a loan against your stake in the lending platform now. So it's like a rehypothecation of your stake. And now you can use those this loan, which is in the form of a stable coin, to trade, to put back into a yield farm to farm more, to do whatever you want with it essentially, because there'll be a liquidity for it through several mechanisms that I'll get into when we get closer. And then when it comes time to essentially say you traded with it, you made a bunch of money, now you want to remove your funds from the loan, you just pay back that loan, and when you pay back that loan you took out against it, now you release your capital plus your profit plus the interest you made. So it allows you to basically access capital that you have in lending platforms making money for you and allow you to trade and do everything with it. You're just taking on the additional risk of having it rehypothecated.
Yeah.
So this is something, rehypothecation is something that central banks do. It's something that, you know, essentially only the government and people that are, they don't call them the government, but are directly controlled by the government have the power to do. And I would like to give that power to everybody and decentralize it. And we would be able to do that through this system. And it's an amazing system. And also this loan would be able to be paid back through the interest that you're making on the yield farm as well. So say you end up trading with that capital and losing it. Now you don't have it. Now your funds are stuck in the lending platform because you can't pay back the loan. Now you just have to wait for your interest on the lending platform to pay off your loan. Now it's paid off. Now you can get your principal back. So it's a great idea. There's some other projects that have done things that are somewhat close to this, but they're very, very limited on what you can do with the loan that they give you and your options for staking. And there's a bunch of other things that I know could be improved on. So I said, the model that I'm talking about is going to be a one-of-a-kind revolution in the space, I believe, a revolution in lending and yield farming. And that's something that I'm prepared to build. But right now, my full focus is on Drip and this NFT game that's coming up.
Nice. Well, Forex, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope everyone who's listening to this learned a lot. I learned a lot. And just to end this, can you tell everyone where they can find you? Yeah. Shill your links.
Okay, yeah. Well, come on, go on Drip Community, Twitter-Drip Community. Go on www.drip.community. There you can find our Telegram link. Our Telegram is let me see. It's drip token_chat.
Yeah.
But if you go to drip.community and go on the website, you'll see that we have a link to the Telegram group, so you can find us there. You can also find the white paper there. You can find a tutorial on the website. If you come to the Telegram group, you can see our audits. We've had multiple third-party audits, including an open source audit, which I feel is the premier audit that you can get. That's all available in PDF form. If you come to our Telegram group, you can access that. And basically, I would say, Reap, if you go to, if you come in and you type /DAO in the Telegram group, you'll get links on how to join the DAO group. The DAO group is where you get exclusive access to our pre-sale deals. You need to hold 300 Reap to get in there. Reap is an ERC20 token. Drip is a Binance Smart Chain token. So essentially, our DAO doesn't have a limit to the chains that we do pre-sale raises for. Reap is an ERC20, but we do raises. We did a Drip raise in there. We've done a B-Reap raise in there. So we've never had a project that we've raised funds for in the DAO that has done less than a 20x in the first month and a half. and all of them are still way up in value. So it's been an extreme success. Some of them have done way more than 20x. So I'm extremely picky about the projects I allow to use our DAO. They go through full audits. The concept needs to make sense. We need to get a great deal on it. I need to be the one that adds and locks liquidity to ensure it's a rug pull is impossible. So it's really a place where you get access to private deals that you know are secure and have great concepts and have a very high probability of being extremely profitable. So to join that, come into the Drip group, the Drip Telegram group, and ask about it. Ask any of the admins or anybody in there, or just type /DAO, and we'll have a bot tell you how to join there. Other than that, I'm so appreciative that you have me on. I watch your videos all the time. I know that you've been supporting us and you've been a great help for our growth all the way since back in Reap. You know, I greatly appreciate that. I think you're one of our admins. I know you're at least one of our admins in the other projects. If you're not in Drip,
I have some powers.
Yeah, so I appreciate you so much, man, and I look forward to all the content you make and you growing your team in Drip and continuing to help us and support us because we appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. That's what we've got to do here. We've got to find the good guys and stick together. That's how crypto works.
Yeah, I know, because there's not many of us in crypto. It's like the crypto is a space where you have the most intelligent. It's the widest spectrum. So as far as investors go, you have the most intelligent, and you have the least intelligent, and you have the most scammy and the least scammy. It's a very wide spectrum in crypto, and like all bell curves, there's the majority are in the middle somewhere. But I think we're sitting far right on the bell curve, and that's what we need to keep supporting. And I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'll also end this call right now. So Forex, don't get wrecked.
I'm not gonna get wrecked. Later, bro.